Good, happy Wednesday morning, January 22, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I'm broadcasting live here in Washington, D.C. at our Washington, D.C. studio. We have a lot of news to get to this morning on the Riley King Newscast, so let's begin. First up, Senate passes McConnell's impeachment rules after nearly 13 hours of debate. The organization resolution was passed on a party line after a continuous session that led to a rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts. The Senate passed Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's resolution laying out a blueprint for President Donald Trump's impeachment trial along party lines early Wednesday after a day of back and forth between House prosecutors and attorneys for the White House. The Republican majority had voted down several amendments proposed by Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York, to subpoena documents and call witnesses. The vote came just before 2 a.m. Wednesday after Rep. Jerry Nadler, Democrat of New York, one of the House impeachment managers, suggested that senators were voting for a cover-up, which drew sharp response from the president's legal counsel. Chief Justice John Roberts admonished House managers and Trump counsel in equal terms to remember that they are addressing the world's greatest deliberative body. Under the terms of the organizing resolution, the House case managers will have 24 hours over 3 days to make their arguments to remove the president from office on charges of abuse of power and obstructing Congress. Attorneys for the White House likewise will have 24 hours over 3 days to state their case for acritical. Senators will have 16 hours to submit questions to both sides before they decide whether to call witness or subpoena documents. The resolution also allow both sides to file motion not related to witness or documents by 9 a.m. Wednesday. The plan proposed by McConnell, Republican, had been opposed by Democrats who wanted a guarantee that they would be able to call witness and demand documents that the administration withheld during the House impeachment inquiry. The vote wasn't a total loss for Democrats. However, McConnell changed two consecutive provisions at the last minute, one that would have required both sides to make their 24-hour arguments in just 2 days, and another that could have bared evidence gathered by the House. Democrats complained that the 2-day limit would have meant that they would be making arguments until 1 a.m. or later, depriving much of the public of the chance to watch the proceedings. The other provision could have barred entering all of the evidence House Democrats gathered against Trump into the Senate record. The evidence now will be omitted automatically unless there's an objection rather than depend on a protective vote to amend it. The House managers are expected to begin their opening arguments Wednesday afternoon. Coyote that attacked family on Exeter Trail confirmed to have rabies. Man pulls coyote off 2-year-old son during attack. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Charisse LeClaire.
Jackpot alert! How much? That much? We are so getting tickets! Hi, hoof! Well, Fish and Game officials are not at all surprised by the outcome of this, considering the way that animal was behaving yesterday. We're also learning today that the wife of the man who had to kill the coyote was also bitten. Conservation officers say this coyote was in an aggressive stage of rabies when it tried to prey on a 2-year-old boy walking with his family in Exeter yesterday.
Rabies, animals can exhibit it in different symptoms, and it goes through different stages, and there is an aggressive stage to it.
Ian O'Reilly knew that all too well.
It was snapping and attacking and lunging.
He was forced to kill it, getting bitten twice in the process. Ian telling News 9 today that his wife also discovered she was bitten as well. They're being treated with shots, and so is this woman, also from Kensington. She got in between a coyote and her 2 dogs as it chased her back to her home yesterday, biting her. Fish and Game say attacks and actual bites from rabid animals are rare.
It's not uncommon to get reports of wildlife acting aggressive or unusual, but it is unusual to have this many instances of bites.
And now they caution the incidents could have involved more than one coyote.
Definitely the possibility of more out there. Rabies is spread through saliva, typically a bite or a scratch, so there could be multiple coyotes with it.
They've been in contact with local police departments in that area and are urging people to stay vigilant outside, vaccinate your pets, and keep an eye on your children like Ian did.
Although it was probably hard, he did the right thing because then we were able to test it. We know it's positive, and now they can get their post-exposure vaccinations.
And now Fish and Game says they will be spending more time in that area because of that discovery. In Concord tonight, I'm Charisse LeClaire, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Impeachment trial takes senators off campaign trail. Many candidates forced on impending Iowa caucus. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Jackpot alert! How much? That much? We are so getting tickets! Hi, hoof!
For the New Hampshire primary, it is an unprecedented predicament.
It certainly is an unusual situation, but I think it's one that we'll overcome.
Amy Klobuchar's top supporters in New Hampshire are rallying as their candidate and 3 others in the Senate are effectively sidelined in Washington by the impeachment trial.
We were all ready to do the usual things of knocking on doors and all of making phone calls and doing all of that. If we're called upon to do other things that we think will reach more people, I think all of us feel that we have to step up and do that.
While the campaigns of the senators work around this unique obstacle, most of the rest of the field is in Iowa. With just 2 weeks until the caucus, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, John Delaney, Tom Steyer, and Andrew Yang are on the trail in the Hawkeye state. Just 2 major candidates are breaking from the pack in terms of location. Deval Patrick is in New York, and Tulsi Gabbard is here in New Hampshire with the Granite State all to herself. Gabbard says meeting people in person is key, with so many likely Democratic primary voters still making up their minds.
You know, what I've found is most people here in New Hampshire and in other parts of the country still have not decided who they want to vote for. And there's no way to really replicate being able to be in the room with someone, to stop by someone's shop, shake their hand, and really talk person to person.
Campaigns that no longer have that ability appear to be at a disadvantage. When they encounter interested voters, they're trying not to let them slip away.
I have their names and telephone numbers right here. And when Amy's in town or when there's an event, my hope is to call them, and if I need to go and pick them up myself, I will.
In Keene, Adam Sexton, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Governor Baker outlines goals for Massachusetts in annual address. Tonight I'm committing the Commonwealth to achieve an ambitious climate goal, net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, Baker said. Governor Charlie Baker said he wants to dramatically reduce the state's reliance on polluting fuels while expanding housing opportunities and upgrading the state's public transit system. Baker outlined the goals Tuesday during his State of Commonwealth address at the Massachusetts State House. The Republican side, one of his top goals for the new year is to help ease the worst efforts of climate change, in part by reducing carbon emissions. Maine Governor Janet Mills delivers her first State of the State. Maine Governor Janet Mills delivered her first State of the State speech Tuesday night. Mills, a Democrat, is heading into a year in which her party hopes to maintain control of both chambers of the Maine legislature. Her message was, "We are not Washington, we are Maine." Mills highlighted that she called bipartisan progress the state has made in her office. In an emotional moment, Mills called on legislatures to increase the state's benefit for families of fallen first responders. Mills honored fallen Maine State Police Detective Ben Campbell and his wife Hillary, who was in attendance, received a standing ovation from lawmakers. Mills also said she will create a scholarship in the memory of fallen Farmington Fire Captain Michael Bell to train young firefighters. Chief Terry Bell, who was seriously injured in the explosion that killed his brother, attended the State of the State and received a standing ovation from lawmakers. The governor spoke for about an hour and emphasized her three main priorities: health care reform, economic development, and combating climate change. Those have been her priorities since taking office. On healthcare, Mills is backing a bill to make private and employer-provided insurance more affordable. This follows last year's expansion of Maine Care. Mills' economic development priorities include expanding broadband and to rural areas. And on climate change, the governor wants to expand inactive to further develop clean energy sources like solar and wind power. The governor called on lawmakers to address student debt and supporting higher education. She also called for more funding for career and technical education. Mills also spoke about the murder of 4-year-old Kendall Chick and 10-year-old Marissa Kennedy. The case sparked child welfare reform in Maine, and the governor proposed more funding for child welfare case workers. The governor talked about efforts to combat the state's opioid crisis and called for creation of an opioid overdose review panel. Mills spoke about the Maine bicentennial this year, state history, and the reliance of Mainers. Republican response. Republican Minority Leader Senate Jeff Timberlake responded Mills' State of the State address. Timberlake said the governor had an abundance plan, but said it hasn't been determined how it will be paid for. Timberlake said Republican leaders need time to look over the governor's proposal. He said one positive from Mills' speech was her call to use some of the $100 million budget surplus to fix Maine roads. Timberlake said he would like to see more of the surplus go to the road repairs instead of more bonds. U.S. features point to a higher open. U.S. stock index features bounced Wednesday as investors monitor a range of corporate earnings along with developments concerning a spread of deadly virus in China. Hillary Clinton has harsh words for Bernie Sanders. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
We turn now to that new documentary, Hillary Clinton Unplugged and Unleashing, tonight on so many topics, including her former rival, Senator Bernie Sanders, saying, quote, nobody likes him, nobody wants to work with him, and refusing to say whether she'll endorse him if he's the 2020 nominee. Here's ABC's Eva Pilgrim.
Tonight, Hillary Clinton unplugged and unleashing. In a new documentary, she opens up about it all, including Bernie Sanders. A quote from the film in a Hollywood Reporter article, Clinton saying he was in Congress for years. He had one senator support him. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. He got nothing done. Clinton and the filmmaker both spoke to the magazine about the new documentary, exploring it all. The reporter asking if Clinton stands by what she said about Sanders. She said yes. Sanders, off the campaign trail for the impeachment trial, responding today.
On a good day, my wife likes me, so let's clear the air on that one. Secretary Clinton is entitled to her point of view. My job today is to focus on the impeachment trial.
Why do you think the Secretary is still talking about 2016?
That is a good question. Ask him.
Clinton's comments come just a week after Sanders faced off with Elizabeth Warren over her claim Sanders told her a woman could not win in 2020.
I think you called me a liar on national TV. I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Clinton was asked about that too, saying, "It's part of a pattern. If it were a one-off, you might say, okay, fine. But he said I was unqualified. I had a lot more experience than he did and got a lot more done than he had. But that was his attack on me."
Of course, so many of the candidates for president are right here in Washington for the impeachment trial. Others remain in Iowa, and that's where Eva Pilgrim is tonight. And Eva, Hillary Clinton was also asked if she would endorse Bernie Sanders if he gets the nomination, and she was unwilling to offer support, at least for now.
That's right, David. Clinton saying, quote, "I'm not going to go there yet." We're still in a very vigorous primary season, adding that she finds the culture of his campaign and the attacks, particularly against women, to be worrisome. Late today, a spokesperson for Clinton saying she will support whoever the nominee is. David.
Eva Pilgrim in Iowa tonight. Eva, thank you. Hi, everyone.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.